Yo, what up? What up, man? What up? Ah, you know, I was actually contemplating a couple of weeks ago whether or not I could kind of put the Platinum Roast series into semi-retirement. But I guess other niggas on YouTube don't quite see it that way. Kwame Kaji, what up, man? Stefan, what up, man? I guess the Platinum Roasts are gonna have to continue. I guess people just don't have the fortitude not to be disingenuous on YouTube. Just gonna have to continue. Chill, what up, man? It's very unfortunate because I would love to, reserve Fridays for historic content, shit like that, but I guess it's just not to be. I guess it's just not to be. Shalom, science guy. Cam, what up, man? Lion, what up? Oh, a lot of y'all, no, quite a few people emailed me about this community post that he put up. A lot of people emailed me this, so it seems like the brothers want me to serve justice today. King, that's right. Media man don't turn into O'Shea. All that fence sitting there healthy. Yeah, all that fence sitting there healthy because sooner or later the fence post goes right up your ass. Yep, the show in the hell ain't healthy. You know what? And I never thought I'd have to do this to media man. But guess we're gonna have to hit him with one of these, man. On the background side. Gotta hit him off with the Bojangles background, man, because this nigga is tap dancing while accusing others of doing so. Rodimus, what up, man? Mr. O with the info, what up, man? All right. Yeah, I thought I would be able to retire the Platinum Roast series, man, but I guess it's just not to be. Guess it's just not to be. Go let a few more people get up in here, man. Rather unfortunate. Rather unfortunate. But I was telling y'all that eventually that this is where Media Man was going. And I told y'all about people who get these, these sponsorships and shit. I told y'all. Yep. Oh, don't be mad. Don't be mad, Cheese Doodle. They gonna take it down again and again and again. They gonna take it down again. That's why the email list is so important. They gonna keep taking it down. Yeah, they gonna keep taking it down. KC writes, all these roasts just know if the Democrats get to launch their social credit scores, you sir will have a yeah. Yeah, if they ever get to launch that I'm shit. Yeah, I'll be fucked. Yeah, but I don't care. I don't care. Yeah. Media man, I knew it was going here. I knew he was headed in this direction. I could already tell, um, even before he was ducking my fade. You know, I could already tell. Such a promising career. One thing that Medium Man does, I frequently talk about black men for doing. And we have to stop doing that as black men. Not just as black men, as anybody that is going to offer political commentary about black demographics has to stop doing this one thing. And what that is blaming the choice and not the woman. Right? We have a real bad habit of blaming the choice but not blaming the woman. I'll give you an example, right? If the government announced tomorrow that they're gonna give everybody baby mama $20,000 and a brand new car to stab you in the ass with a knife and send like a 13-second video of the knife sticking out of your ass with the blood, and then they can come and claim their prize, right? Are you gonna blame the government and not your baby mama for stabbing you? Of course you're gonna blame her, right? So that's an example of why you shouldn't blame the choice, blame the woman. I don't care how much public aid that they was giving out. Don't blame the choice, blame the woman. I don't care how tempting it might have been to have your own place and just go into the project. Don't blame the choice, blame the woman. Right? Now we're going to share the screen. Fair use. Fair use. Fair use.
We have to examine marriage rates and non-marital birth rates together, decade by decade. Isolating one statistic and drawing sweeping conclusions from it is how misinformation spreads. In the 1950s, more than 60% more likely to be married than black women. And around
y'all heard him say misinformation. Wonder where he got that from. Tell you, man, it's a lot of agents. I've been telling y'all, man, it's agents everywhere, and they all interconnected. They all interconnected. Rodimus, thanks for the cash app. Don't let that brother be alone. All these agents are interconnected. This, what he's doing, ties into a lot of shit that's going on right now. Ain't it crazy that, like that community post that provoked all of y'all's ire enough to start sending me messages about it? Isn't it strange that community post comes right on the heels of Floyd allegedly getting arrested in Brazil? You see the timing of it? Now that we've ran a international psyop to intimidate you niggas back onto the plantation, now let us tell you why it's good to be back on the plantation. See how it all ties in? Cheese Doodle, thanks for the cash app. Don't let that brother be alone. Let's go.
Around the time of the Monahan Report in 1965, non-marital births among black women were approximately 20 to 25%. Even then, the majority of black children were born into married households, and the majority of black fathers were residential.
About a quarter of Negro families are headed by women.
About a quarter of Negro families are headed by women.
The divorce rate is 2.5 times what it is, and all the number of fathers.
That's still too high. It don't matter that it was lower back then. That's still too damn high.
Children keeps growing, and all these things getting worse, not better, over recent years. It's not a matter of a bad situation that doesn't improve, but rather a bad situation that worsens. Got to get that clear. It's getting worse. How'd you learn how to behave? From your father and your mother and your older sisters, maybe, and the people around you. Well, supposing there is no father, or if he is a father, he doesn't work, where there is no education, where there's no sense of getting ahead, where children are just brought up without any of that support which a family gives it, then what do you end up with? and end up a cycle reproducing itself.
In the 1970s, black marriage rates began to decline toward low to mid 50% range, while black men continued to be married at higher rates than black women. Non-marital birth rates rose into the mid 30% range. But it is also important to note that early federal estimates during this period were reported by race of child rather than race of mother, which slightly affects comparability but does not change the overall direction of the trend. By 1980, black marriage rates fell below 50% for the first time, with black men still more likely to be married than black women. Non-marital birth rates increased to approximately 55 to 56%. And from this point forward, reporting consistently used race of mother, improving accuracy and consistency across the years. Now, throughout the 1990s, marriage rates declined further into the low 40% range, while non-marital birth rates rose to approximately 66%. By 2000, non-marital birth.
Notice how the 1990s, you know, as black marriage rates go lower, notice how that ties into the a few years after the release date of The Color Purple. Really think about that shit. Really think about that. Think about that. Think about it.
Among black women reached 68 to 69%, while marriage rates hovered in the upper 30% range. This pattern persisted through the 2010s and early 2020s, with the most recent estimates showing 69.3% of births to black women occurring outside of marriage. This shift did not occur gradually across the entire century. It accelerated sharply beginning in the late 1960s and 1970s, when black marriage rates moved from hovering around 50% into sustained decline. Several structural changes occurred simultaneously. Modern birth control became widely available, allowing sex to be more consistently separated from pregnancy.
All of that changed in 1960, when the FDA approved an oral contraceptive pill, thanks to the tireless efforts of activist Margaret Sanger and a team of doctors. Within 5 years, millions of American women had prescriptions for the pill. Thanks to the tireless efforts of activist Margaret Sanger.
In
1939, Margaret Sanger, co-founder of Planned Parenthood, started the Negro Project with the aim of slowing and then reversing the growth of the black population. A staunch advocate of eugenics, the so-called science of purifying the human gene pool, Sanger viewed certain races, especially blacks, as genetically inferior and inclined towards producing human weeds. Reckless breeders spawning human beings who never should have been born.
In 1973, abortion became legal nationwide, and that same year marked the beginning of the systematic national abortion surveillance and expanded fertility reporting. At the same time, the second wave feminist movement reshaped women's economic and social roles. Women's labor force participation increased, educational attainment rose, and marriage increasingly became optional rather than mandatory. Meanwhile, economic restructuring reduced stable employment opportunities for men without college degrees, particularly in urban areas, making marriage financially harder to sustain. Taken together, these legal, cultural, economic, and technological forces reshaped family formation. They changed marriage, but they did not create mass father abandonment. And any honest discussion must acknowledge the impact of mass incarceration during the 1980s and the 1990s, particularly during the crack epidemic and the expansion of punitive drug sentencing. Yes, many black men were removed from their communities, disrupting households and father-child relationships. That disruption should not be minimized, but proportion matters. During the height of mass incarceration in the 1980s and 1990s, black men were incarcerated at disproportionately high rates, but it is critical to understand the scale and limits of that reality. According to Historical Bureau of Justice Statistics data, the incarceration rate for black men rose from roughly 1,200 per 100,000 in 1980, peaking just above 3,000 per 100,000 by the late 1990s. In raw numbers, this translated to roughly 500 to 600,000 black men incarcerated at peak levels levels across prisons and jails combined. While these rates were dramatically higher than those of white men, they still meant that approximately 96 to 97% of black men were not incarcerated, even at the height of the crack epidemic and tough on crime sentencing. But it is also important for me to clarify an apparent confusion that often arises when comparing incarceration figures across time. During the 1980s and the 1990s, mass incarceration peaked in terms of incarceration rates, not raw population counts. At that time, black men were incarcerated at rates exceeding 3,000 per 100,000, but the total black population was significantly smaller, roughly 30 million nationwide. Today, incarceration rates for black men are substantially lower than their 1990s peak, yet the total black population has grown to approximately 47 to 48 million. As a result,
The dope game dried up.
a lower percentage of a larger population can produce a similar or even higher raw count. Additionally, modern figures such as approximately 740,000 black Americans currently confined. This includes all forms of confinement.
Now you heard what he just said. 740,000 black Americans are currently confined. And remember, that number is out of 45 million or so. So that dispels that whole myth about, oh, well, most black men are locked up. People actually don't believe me. They actually think that most black men are locked up. It's crazy that they think that.
State prisons, federal prisons, local jails, juvenile facilities, immigration detention, civil commitment centers, military prisons, and territorial facilities. In contrast, many historical figures from the 1980s and 1990s refer primarily to state and federal prisons only, often excluding jails and other short-term confinement. Finally, contemporary incarceration involves greater turnover than jails, shorter stays, but more people cycling in and out, whereas the 1990s were characterized by longer prison sentences. Taken together, these factors explain why raw counts today can appear higher even though incarceration rates have declined significantly since the peak of mass incarceration.
Frank Lucas was an incredible street dealing boss.
Mr. Untouchable, Leroy Nicky Barnes, whose photo on the cover of the magazine caused genuine anger of U.S. President Jimmy Carter. And I must say, the anger is well deserved, because what president wants to see on the cover of the New York Times one of the main drug lords of the country, who has about 3,000 dealers bringing him millions of dollars?
There's another warning about cocaine today.
Crack now has spread to almost every American city.
It is a problem in Houston, Philadelphia, Kansas City, Tucson, and Sacramento.
In the 1980s, the media sounded the alarm that a new drug, crack cocaine, was taking over American cities and that it had an especially devastating effect on pregnant women and their newborns.
A new study says that babies born to women who use cocaine during pregnancy are 3 times as likely to be born with birth defects.
They tend to be what we call jittery.
They're very, very high risk for cerebral palsy, mental retardation.
These children, who are the most expensive babies ever born in America, are going to overwhelm every social service delivery system that they come in contact with throughout the rest of their lives.
Drugs take away the dream from every child's heart and replace it with a nightmare.
Remember, 740,000 out of 45 million or so people. Now, he talked about Planned Parenthood. I don't know if he went into enough detail about the roots of Planned Parenthood. So, a quick refresher. Fair use. Fair use.
Planned Parenthood hails founder Margaret Sanger as a champion of civil rights, But one thing they don't talk about is the racism behind her fight to legalize abortion. A group of African American leaders want to focus attention on her ideology and how it affected black birth rates. Abigail Robertson has more on this story.
Margaret Sanger strived for a society that limited births to only those she deemed fit to have children.
Well, I think the greatest sin in the world is bringing children into the world that have disease from their parents, that have no chance in the world to be a human being, practically. Delinquents, prisoners, all sorts of things just marked when they're born. That, to me, is the greatest sin.
Many pro-choice advocates see her as a hero, but critics call her a racist eugenics promoter who targeted black communities with her Planned Parenthood clinics.
Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood, once said, colored people are like...
Oh, they love to leave that out. Two things that feminists love to leave out is that Margaret Sanger was a feminist and a racist, and they love to leave out that most of the original feminists from the beginning of the 20th century were female KKK members. They love to leave those two facts out, those two fun facts out.
Weeds, they need to be exterminated.
People don't understand that 79% of Planned Parenthood clinics are located in minority communities, and that minority communities shoulder a disproportionate amount of abortion.
Dr. King says while African Americans make up only 13% of the U.S. population, over 30% of aborted babies are from black mothers.
Under the veil of secrecy and deception, 60+ million babies have not been born because they were aborted legally since '73. 1/3 of that population belong to the African American community.
Planned Parenthood recently celebrated its 100th anniversary, prompting pro-life leaders to unite under the banner 100 No More to educate the public on the harmful impact Planned Parenthood has had on the African American community. 100 No More hope rallies like this one in Washington spread across the country to enlighten people about Sanger and her tragic legacy.
I have a real serious concern about the number of abortions that's taking place in the minority community, particularly the black community. And that I see this as a form of genocide, that is something we need to take a serious look at.
Planned Parenthood receives around $500 million each year from taxpayers.
96% of the time, if a pregnant woman walks into their clinic, that she will have an abortion.
Pro-life advocates want Congress to move that money to women's clinics that do not perform abortions.
They outnumber already around the country Planned Parenthood clinics 20-1. They truly help poor women. They truly care for the least of these, but they don't do abortions.
Reporting from Washington, Abigail Robertson, CBN News.
I just had to include that because I don't think that Medium Man's current handlers would have wanted him to include that. It kind of seems. So now let's discuss let's get off into Medium Man's community post. I think I know where this one is going, but let's read along. Black men being physically the most desired on the dating market has been repeated countless of times in Black relationship conversations. I listen to all of you. Black men are among the most sexually desired men globally. We have cultural leverage, physical desirability, and presence that other men and other groups actively envy. For a Black man with options to claim he voluntarily moved himself from the dating market out of principle is not believable as code. Okay. I don't know what he means by that, but okay. Wait. And then there's this one. This is the one that raised everybody's hackles. Merry Christmas. Performative cooning. Both groups are corny as fuck. There's a difference between dating outside your race because of real experiences and performative cooning, where you publicly degrade your own people for validation. And let me get something straight. When Black men do this, you have selective amnesia. Notice how he comes at Black men first. Notice how this Bojangles ass nigga comes at Black men first. Let me continue. And let me get something straight with Black men who do this. Do you have selective amnesia? White men were enslaving Black people, enforcing Jim Crow, writing laws to cripple communities, and terrorizing Black men for generations. They were not acting alone. White women were not innocent bystanders. They stood right next to white men. They benefited. They condoned it. They never left white men's side. Wake the fuck up. And I'm not trying to cape for white women. I'm not trying to cape for white women right here. But Medium Man is full of shit with that. Medium Man is full of shit. You will hear university level historians. You will hear university level historians say, well, the Black man wasn't the only slave on the plantation. Put a 7 in the chat if you ever heard somebody say that when speaking about antebellum slavery. Put a 7 in the chat if you've ever heard somebody say that about antebellum slavery. That the Black man wasn't the only slave on the plantation. Thank you, King. That's what I'm saying. So he's saying, so is he saying that Keisha was on our side the whole time, right? You never heard that before, Lion? Yeah. When historians say that, this is what they're talking about. They're talking about the fact that a white man could bring a white woman to live with him on the plantation. Oh, you heard it from alt-writers? Yeah, and that's crazy because they was telling the truth. They was telling the truth. Yeah, what they meant is that back then, when white women came to live on them plantations, they had better get with the program. I don't care how distasteful they found slavery. Because that white man could spin their ass right back around and send them back to their mother's house. Wasn't no fault divorce back then. He could write her out a writ of divorce and send her away with a few coins on a stagecoach and say, bitch, take your ass up out of here. As a matter of fact, a lot of white women who lived on the bigger plantations where the master had fancy maids. Now, if we know one thing about women is that they operate primarily out of avarice. If you think that bitch is jealous of you, she's not jealous of you. It's avarice. And then, or maybe envious. Oh, yeah, many of them did find. No, I'm not trying to say that white women are angels or no shit like that. All I'm trying to say is that back then, they were in the position of damn near servitude themselves. So Medium Man making this point about, and then there was some, there were some white women who were slaveholders themselves, and some black women. Right? But he's making it sound like white women were out there with the slave catchers. They weren't. But I digress. As I was saying, women primarily, when it comes to men, operate out of avarice. Right? You think they jealous of you of another bitch? They not. That's a whole different emotion. It's called avarice. And the definition of avarice is extreme greed for wealth or material gain. Right? That's what they operate out of. That's what they operate out of. So it was a lot of white women who that was on the larger plantations, the richer plantations, where their husband had a fancy maid, and it wasn't a motherfucking thing they could do about it. I'm gonna tell y'all again, that is Hollywood made bullshit. The master tiptoeing out with the lantern to go in the slave cabins. No, they didn't do none of that. No, they had they fancy made bitch in the next room. They had they fancy made bitch in the next room. So when he ain't want to fuck the wife that night, he could walk right to the next room, and it wasn't shit that the wife could do about it. It wasn't shit that the wife could do about it. Nothing. So he's trying to lend white women with more power than they actually had back then. And really, white women don't have that much power now. The only reason that the white woman is even relevant politically is that she gives birth to race soldiers. That's it. That's her only function. That's her only function. He said they stood right next to white men. They benefited. They condoned it. I guess he don't realize how many white female abolitionists it was. I guess he don't understand how many white women's names are on that lynching memorial too for getting caught having sex with black men, or not even just having sex with them, just being in relationships with them. Matter of fact, there are actually white women who are from the North that had came down there to marry a black man and wanted to bring him up north with him, and ended up getting kidnapped and lynched before they could make it. Right? Now, let me be clear about where I stand. I believe strongly in black love. I would prefer to see black men and women come together, build families, and get married. That's my ideal, and I'm not hiding that, but I'm also not stupid and blind to the current climate. I see the propaganda that's been pushed about black men for the past 5 or 6 decades, and I see how it's shaped how many black women view black men today. I see the hostility, the hatred, the public narratives, and the way some of that plays out online and in real life. So if you're a black man who's had negative experiences with black women personally, or based on how some black women present themselves and talk about black men, and you decide that dating outside of your race is necessary for your mental health and peace, I understand that. That choice doesn't make you disloyal. It makes you human. Their part is not the issue. The issue is public performance. If it ain't white, it ain't right. Snow bunnies only. Loudly trashing black women online to signal allegiance. That's performative coolness. And it's the same corny behavior I call out when black women publicly degrade black men while trying to marry out. Both groups are equally embarrassing. But notice how he puts the onus and goes into, I guess, what he sees as greater detail about what the misdeeds of so-called black men are. I guess I'm gonna have to ask the same question that I asked last week. Can anybody point me to a black male equivalent of eating dog food off of the fucking floor? Can anybody point me to a black male equivalent of, remember that website New World Slave? For all of my day one subscribers, do y'all remember that website New World Slave, where it was a slave play website? Can anybody point me to a black male equivalent of that? And I don't want to hear Queen of Spades. No, Queen of Spades is something that white women thought up. Nobody can point me to any of that. Thank you, Cortez Smith. There's no black male Cynthia G. There's no black man anywhere advocating for the bodily harm or preemptive aborting of so-called black babies. Thank you, Cortez Smith. There's no book called Sons of the Trade. It's only a Daughters of the Trade. There's no black male version of Ghetto Gaggers. So it's odd that in this bullshit ass post, like I said, he puts the spotlight on what he sees as misdeeds by so-called black men. Rodimus and D-Mac, thanks for the cash app. Don't let them brothers be alone. There's so many things. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, D-Mac. There's no black male Crystalline Carrison, even though people try to claim that Mad Bus Driver is. No, he's not. No. Mad Bus Driver is not the same. Mad Bus Driver didn't write a manual trying to tell black men how to modify their behavior to be with a non-black partner. He just informed you that, hey, this might be the best choice for you. That's all their brothers ever did in his YouTube career. That's all he's ever did, and pointed out the hypocrisy that's present in the black male, the black dating environment. Yep, right about that, science guy. The only group making porn out of slave play is Keisha, because she desires that sick dynamic. Yep. You even got Chinese women. You got Chinese women that worship white men, but they don't have a slave play site dedicated to it. Yeah, I've never seen a black man joke about lynchings. Like that, what is that? Divest to Sell It. She has a black man hanging from a tree lynched as her That's her avatar picture. Where's the black male equivalent of that? Nowhere. Can y'all imagine? You know that picture of, damn, what was that dude name? It was a gynecologist. I'm about to find his name. Yeah, because I did a live about him before. J. Marion Sims. Y'all know that painting with J. Marion Sims with one of them metal implements finna stick it up in the black woman, and she kneeling down on the table while he got this long ass piece of metal in his hands. Can you imagine how people would picture bitch if a black man was to dare condense that down and use it as his avatar picture? Can you? Man, people would lose their shit. Whoever that is would get flagged down within 24 hours. Their channel would be fucking gone. Or at least the thumbnail would be gone. And they would tell them you got to change your thumbnail or not have one. They would tell them that this image is hate speech. That's a hypothetical black male equivalent of that. But a lot of this shit that you see, there's no black male equivalent to. And actually, when you do see black men saying things like what he's talking about, that if it ain't white, it ain't right, or snow bunnies only, these are usually just Gen Z black men. And it's the first generation of black men that started out saying, hey, we're not doing this black shit. And who do you think is to blame for that? According to the United States Census Bureau, from roughly 2015 to 2021, about 85% of married black men were married to black women. Today, that number is closer to 79%. That means 21%, roughly, in 1 in 5 married black men are married to non-black women. And the number is going to increase. Media man, the number is going to increase. Trust me. Trust me. And here's what matters. About 10% of that 21% are black men, white women marriages. Now look at it in the reverse. In 2015, about 0.5% of married white men were married to black women. And being generous, that's nearly been a decade. Now we can round that up to about 1%, which constitutes the lowest interracial parent group in the United States. So what are you trying to say here, media man? You trying to defend? What are you trying to say? We all know that so-called black women are incompatible to marriage because of their teachings. Yeah, that's another thing. And you would never see that. You would never see that, King Des. King Des writes, you don't see black men and interracial couples with YouTube channels where they talk shit about black women all day. You would never see that. You would never see that. Because that shit will be flagged down that day. Grand opening, grand closing. That shit will be flagged down that day. I'm telling y'all, if I had access to millions, I would put together a team of actors. I will put together a team of actors, and I will have a sound stage and everything set up. I will make it look like, like these are just some regular. I would almost make it kind of like a Philip Scott type of thing. I would almost make it some shit like that. I will make it some shit like that. and I would have like 4 black men, and I would have 1 white woman, 1 Hispanic woman, 1 Middle Eastern woman, and 1 Asian woman. And I would like put these 8 people together like they in couples, and I would just have them produce videos talking shit about black women, right? I mean, a bunch of this shit, like dozens of them, and then go and get a YouTube channel. And as I'm doing this, I will be filming the behind the scenes documentary of them laughing about the things that they say. Like, oh, I can't believe we're going to say this. Oh my God. And then going and doing it convincingly, and then posting all that shit to YouTube as a social experiment just to see how fast it gets flagged down. Meanwhile, I will have another 8 people that's composed of black women and tellers with white men going and clowning black men just to see how much longer that those channels will last than the ones with the couples that's ran by black men. I would expose the whole fucking internet with that. I would expose the flagging and community guidelines and every fucking hypocritical cesspool ass fucking platform on this goddamn internet if I could do that. Illmatic writes, matter of fact, I want to find those screenshots from where I pretended to be a white man on a day nap some years ago. These niggas queens are disgusting. These desperate. Yeah, they are. Even some of the black women are starting to clown their ass. Even black women are saying, you know, it's sad to see whenever a white boy get on there talking about anything, they might be talking about some type of tools or something, and then here comes some goofy ass bitch talking about, do you like black chocolate? It's black women openly clowning some of these bitches. D Mac writes, I think people will openly threaten their life if you put that type of production together. What would they threaten their life for? It's a hoax. You mad about the hoax, or you mad that y'all got exposed? You know how viral that shit will go? Yep. I remember Jacob Mason. Yep. Yep. The one who was combing the black girl's hair. Yep. Yep. Let's keep reading what Media Man has to say. And I hope he's not trying to say that they race loyal, because it's not that they race loyal, it's that nobody wants them. So let me say this plainly. Black men are being chosen by other races of women at roughly double the rate of black women are being chosen by white men, which means that black men have no reason none to publicly champion or campaign for white women. The numbers show that their choice is already happening. The performance adds nothing. All it does is make you look insecure and tap dancing for acceptance. So wait a minute, Media Man. What is it? So you saying because white men choose black women less, that you excusing they ass kissing? Boy, this is some crazy ass fist sitting right here. Date who you want, love who fits you, protect your peace, and stop the performative cooning. All that interracial worship doesn't look empowered; it looks stupid, unnecessary, and weak. And here's his funny picture. But there's an awful lot of nuance that he leaves out with this post. There's an awful lot of nuance that he leaves out with this post. And that's what we're about to talk about right now. As I said earlier, you won't see a black man kneel down, crouching down on the floor, eating dog food after dogs. right? If just saying that you like white women is performative, I don't know how that's performative next to slave play. If just saying that you like white women is performative, I don't know how performative that is compared to saying, oh, I'm going to grow my natural hair out to give me a white man so we could do slave play kink. It's actually black women saying that. If you just saying you like white women is performative, I don't know how that compares with sitting there on a Discord server with white men that are supposed to be openly white supremacists plotting the deaths of so-called black men. I don't know how that's performative compared to that. I think that he kind of doesn't understand what the word performative means. Performative in this case means making a big exaggerated show of something, going out of your way to be conspicuous. And the majority of black men that date out of their race, they don't even call it interracial dating. They just call it dating. And they don't go out of their way to show that they got a different race partner. They just enjoy their partner. Many times, for you to even see interracial couples led by black men, you got to follow them and involuntarily record them. Y'all understand that? You got to follow them and record them involuntarily because they just regular people minding their own business. As much as they might be enjoying this situation, they don't feel the need to try to broadcast to the world like a certain group of people does. Now, but when a black woman is with a non-black man, the first thing they do is turn their relationship into content. The first thing they do is turn their relationship into content. Especially if it's a halfway decent looking white man, they turn their relationship into content. The first thing they do. Either they will rush to post that on their social media. They'll see if they can get the non-black man to do TikToks with them. Or even further than that, they will make a whole motherfucking YouTube or a whole TikTok page just about that. Illmatic writes, every black dude on YouTube that has a non-black girlfriend or wife doesn't have the Carlton Banks voice, like how Keisha's like to change the voice to White Valley girls. Yeah, that's another thing. Black men are dating outside of their race remain who they are. They don't automatically like start talking like this, you know. No, we don't do that shit. I've dated outside my race before. It didn't change how I talk one iota. Yep. Right about that, Illmatic. Even if it's just a co-worker, these Keishas will still post a white dude. Yep. Even that one girl that was like, one of my co-workers told me he haven't been on a date in 12 years, so I took him on a date. And it was some big 400-pound ass white man. And they was just basically going on a friend date, but she had to let social media know all about it. That's what I'm saying. Whatever type of way they get with a non-black man, they are going to make sure that social media knows about it. They're going to make content out of it. So I guess he's comparing like when brothers say Snow Bunnies forever, and they might have a post with a white woman in a bathing suit on the beach. So I guess just some innocuous post with a nice looking white woman on there. So that's comparative to making your whole personal life content, to turning your whole personal life into a fucking Truman Show because you got a non-black partner. Is that what you telling us, media man? Is that what you telling us? Because some ain't adding up, G. Some ain't adding up. See, this nigga is an agent. I'm gonna keep it a bean with y'all. This nigga is an agent, and the shit that we've been seeing is building up to the 2026 midterms. This shit with Floyd getting arrested is real weird. And let me take a detour for a minute to Floyd, and so I can tie all of this shit together. After that live I did Friday talking about Floyd, me and Dennis Jean-Pierre started to do a bit of a deeper dive into it. And we noticed a lot of inconsistencies. One of the things that we noticed was strange, and for those of y'all that's been to Brazil too, y'all be able to vouch for this. Brazilian police are usually more armed and armored, right? Let me see if I still got that clip. Brazilian police are usually more heavily armed.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Keep your hand on the board. Put your hands in the air. Put your hands on the board.
Yeah. Surrendering.
You're being arrested for a child exploration by the police of Rio de Janeiro, okay? That's it. That's it.
We noticed a few inconsistencies. Number one, not only are Brazilian police usually more heavily armed and armored than this, because a couple of these police actually had on t-shirts. You're not gonna see no Brazilian police nowhere with just a t-shirt on doing something like this. Number two, Brazilian police are extremely professional. They are extremely fucking professional. And these police were very unprofessional. They were flagging each other. They were standing in each other's fields of fire with weapons drawn. Brazilian police are much, much more efficient and much, much more professional than this. Right? Another thing that we noticed, y'all know what's missing out of this whole situation? What's missing out of this whole situation is that we haven't got a news release from ICE. There's no news release from ICE. Y'all do understand that whenever an American gets arrested abroad for a crime of this nature or a murder or something, that it follows with a press release from ICE. Did y'all know that? Did y'all know that? Like that dude that from Kentucky that got caught in Cambodia in 2020. Yep, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Them the thickest vests I ever seen. This the road said Brazilian police be dressed like they going to Fallujah. Yes. Yes. Another thing, I didn't see any mention of this story on any major Brazilian news outlet. Right? Only some fake ass made up website and a whole bunch of Instagram and TikTok posts and YouTube videos. Nothing on Brazil's news. Even further than that, I went to the Sao Paulo Penitentiary website. Right? No mention of him there. Not even on the news page of Sao Paulo's penitentiary system. They talked about all type of other criminals they had arrested. They talked about criminals that tried to escape out of there. They talk about people that tried to smuggle things into criminals. They talked about having application dates and entrance exams for people that want to become officers. They talked about everything else on their website, but no mention of Floyd. None. Did an inmate search, couldn't find Floyd. Right? Straight up hoax. I can't even call it a psyop. It's a fucking hoax. It's a full-on fucking hoax. And it's meant to intimidate black men out of traveling. Now, isn't it such a fucking coincidence that right at the moment when the Floyd story comes out to scare niggas out of traveling, here comes Media Man telling you why you should be happy to be on the plantation. Now that they don't scare you from leaving. No, there's been nothing. Nothing. I've been going on ICE's website the whole week. Nothing. Nothing. And I'm going to tell you this again. When an American gets arrested abroad, damn near for anything, ICE is going to have a press release about it. Especially if it's an extreme felony like a murder, child exploitation, drug trafficking, weapon smuggling. ICE is going to have a press release about it. Yep, with no evidence, with no court case. This is what blackmail content creators ought to be talking about right now. This motherfucking hoax. That's what y'all ought to be talking about right now. Science Guy writes, they using this to try to tie the entire passport bro movement to a global sex ring. This shit is wild. Yeah. It's a hoax. It's a hoax. It's a fucking hoax. But isn't it a coincidence that just a couple of days after the Floyd story breaks, here comes Media Man to tell you to try to sell the plantation back to you? All of this shit is tied together. It's all tied together. Those police officers in that pretend raid, thank you. People who travel internationally understand this. D-Mac writes, you'll see a press release from the State Department, I believe. Yeah, you will see one from the State Department and from the Homeland Security Department, and maybe from the FBI, but nothing, nope, nothing. 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 According to that bullshit ass article, they said that they was looking for evidence that any crime ever even happened. Because they said, we're looking for identified victims. Like, wait a minute, if you arrested that man for that, how are you looking for identified victims? That's wild, bro. Straight up hoax. Yet, is no mention of it on any major Brazilian news outlet. All it is people on YouTube. The only news outlets that's carrying this story are tabloid outlets like the Toronto Sun and the Daily Mail. Those are tabloids to me. Those are tabloids. Revelator, thanks for the cash app. Don't let that brother be alone. Those are tabloids. Yeah, those are tabloids. Wait a minute, because Dennis had more video of the arrest that he sent me. You know what I think I think those officers are Brazilians that's been living here in the United States and they flew them back in, especially to stage this. Because one of them even said, motherfucker. What somebody in Brazil know about that word? All right, I shared it with myself. An additional video of the arrest to even further cement that this is a fucking hoax. All of this shit ties together though. All of this shit ties together. So while they harass and intimidate brothers that travel online and try to intimidate people into canceling travel plans, and what a coincidence. What a coincidence. Right around Carnival. You feel me? Right when Carnival is about to come. Or right when people be buying tickets, making plans for Carnival, because Carnival is like next year, but all right, let's go ahead and share the screen so I can get this as it comes in. Oh, come the fuck on. Fuck. You know what? Hold on. I know, and that's what the goal was. That's what the goal was. D-Mac right, screwed up part is there's a good amount of those brothers in that space who are really low-key panicking. I know. That's all right. We're gonna have to produce we're gonna have to get together and produce some type of movie or something. It ain't nothing but a 50-second video, so let me just go ahead and download this shit on screen recording and send it to myself. Yeah, you are yeah, you are mentally on the plantation if you don't even have the fucking presence of mind to really, take a step back and analyze this shit. Sorry, I don't have the sound with this. All right. There's some other strange things with this video that you're gonna notice. I'm gonna point out too. Some real strange shit. Okay. All right. Just shared it with myself, so let me. Oh, there, good. It's up there already. Okay. I guess I'll download it. All right. We ain't even got to Media Man and talking about he a stepdad. We ain't even got to the stepdaddyism part. King, that's right. No matter what they do, brothers will not accept the cleanup man and stepdad role anymore. If this was the 80s and 90s, Dr. Brown would have been found a sucker, would have been found a sucker to wife up, but times have changed. Yeah. All right, this is a short 50-second video. It contains some elements of the video from the hallway in the beginning, but then there's additional elements that we can use here to point out the bullshit. Just let it hurry the fuck up and upload. All right. Yeah, he a stepdad. Yeah, I just found that out today. He a stepdad. That's why he defends stepdaddyism. Yep, that's why he defends stepdaddyism. Because knowing is half the battle. Mm-hmm. All right. Now watch this. This is from when he's Notice that they flagging each other. If any one of them had to shoot them guns, they'd have shot each other. Notice that they didn't go through the whole apartment. Y'all know what clear is in Portuguese? Claro. Claro. I didn't hear anybody yell claro in that other video. Nobody yelled claro. So you telling me that professionally trained police come into an apartment complex to execute a warrant, they flag each other, they crowd too close together by the door, and then they spray pepper spray as soon as they open the door, even though they themselves don't have gas masks on. Yeah, nobody yelled out claro. They didn't clear, and they they executed a warrant in an apartment, but didn't even clear the rooms to see if anybody else is in there. That's some strange shit. Now watch this. Watch this. Watch this. They have Floyd riding in the fucking trunk, the cargo area of this small SUV, but not in the fucking back seat. Don't nobody find any of this shit strange? They have Floyd riding in the trunk area instead of the back seat. Why would you put him back there? The more you dig into this shit, the more unbelievable it comes. It's kind of weird that such a major arrest wouldn't be talked about on Brazil's news. It's just a bunch of tabloid sites. This is purely made up. Yep, right about that, King Des. If we're being honest, being a stepdad is what black love is for black men. Yep. Yeah, he was smirking. Because mission accomplished, that's why. The conclusion of a psyop, that's why. That's why he was smirking. Yeah, he was smirking. Mission accomplished. Mission accomplished. Mission accomplished. But notice that the police that was getting him out of the trunk of the car for some reason didn't have on a vest. You would never see a Brazilian police officer without a vest. Not in uniform anyway. You would never see that. But this all ties together. Yes, it was fake. It was fake. It was fake. Yep, it was fake. Yep, it was fake. So, Media Man, how is it yeah, it's kind of crazy that Ringo will be talking about this when Ringo said that as soon as a girl bleeds, that you should be with her. And that y'all got the system scaring y'all away from going to capture y'all wife. That's Ringo words, not mine. See, I don't know why he's speaking on this. That's kind of crazy. He should be the last motherfucker that say something. He should be the last motherfucker with something to say about this. Should be the last motherfucker. But media man, we know damn well that you have a much better grasp of history than you're letting on. We know damn well that with your knowledge of statistics, we know that you know the numbers good enough to know that there's more nuanced points, that it's not just all black and white like how you're trying to depict it. We also know that you're more than smart enough to know that much of what you are saying are false equivalencies at best, if not utter hypocrisy. Right? We know this. We know this, media man. So the only question that I have is, whatever your handlers are paying you, is it worth destroying your integrity? Because that's what's going to happen for you. You are going to end up another footnote to history in nigga YouTube. You go be one of them channels. I don't know if they go keep you afloat by having bot farms subscribe to you and buying your super chats and everything. I guess it's enough simps to keep you afloat. I don't know, but that simp pool is drying up. But you are going to be one of these afterthoughts, one of these footnotes, just like C Boogie, just like Ass Nathaniel, just like a bunch of these other niggas. Y'all come here, y'all do this soft shoe shit, and then y'all disappear and people forget about y'all. You would think that y'all would like finally wise up and understand that, hey, maybe it's better to conduct yourself with some fucking integrity. Maybe that's better. Yeah, I've always hated that too, Cortez Smith. I've always hated the date out but don't diss sister talking point. Yeah, first of all, nobody's really doing that. Second of all, even if black men were to start doing it, what about the fucking 4 centuries of denigration and verbal abuse that we've set at the hands of so-called black women? What about that? Yeah, nobody talks about that though. Why, man? I'm finna get up out of here, man. It's been a Black Pill PSA. Peace.